Hello, welcome to the Afrocentric Woman. Thank you for tuning in. Um, I want to talk about this little demon child that offed his mother for not buying something that he wanted. Um, you may have learned of this story. You may have seen it. I saw it maybe a day or two ago, and I was thinking I wanted to come on and talk about it, and here I am talking about it. So, for those who don't know about this story, I'm going to play a little news clip, the audio only, so that you can kind of get up to speed of what happened in Milwaukee with this mother and the demon child. Here it is.
And with alarming new details about a Milwaukee mother who was allegedly killed by her 10-year-old son. This all happened last week near 87th and Hemlock, and that's where we find our Uba Ali this afternoon with the latest details. Uba, this is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, Simone, and that 10-year-old boy is now being charged with first-degree reckless homicide, and he's being charged as an adult. Now, police initially were.
Hold on one second, y'all. I'm sorry. I just hit the wrong key on my computer.
He was when it went off in this home behind me and struck his mother. According to a criminal complaint we obtained, family contacted Milwaukee police the day after the shooting with serious concerns. They say the boy told his aunt he was actually aiming the gun at his mother. According to detectives, that boy admitted to being mad at his mom for waking him up early that morning and not letting him buy something online. Family told police the boy has, quote, rage issues. According to that same complaint, one family member said they, quote, felt bad for not stepping in earlier because they knew eventually something bad was going to happen. Now, within the hour, we asked Mayor Cavalier Johnson about the charges the 10-year-old is facing.
Look, anytime there's violence that happens in Milwaukee, whether it's committed by somebody who's 10 years old or much older than that gives me pause. I don't want to see anybody hurt, lose their lives in the city. In this particular case, I don't have the details just yet. This is something that is just coming to my attention.
A cash bond of $50,000 was sent for the 10-year-old. He will remain at the juvenile justice facility. He is due back in court on December 7th. Reporting near 87th and Hemlock, Uba Ali. Simone.
10 and so young. Thanks, Uba.
Okay, so that kind of gives you a brief overview of what's going on with this case. Hopefully you could hear okay. What I think is going on is I think the primary factor driving this behavior is antisocial personality disorder, psychopathy, usually. So psychopathy is usually referred to antisocial behavior from birth. In other words, there's always the nature versus nurture argument. Why do people commit crimes? Why do people off people? Why do people are people? Why are people violent towards others? Is it because they were raised in a violent environment? Is it because they were raised in a home with violence? Or were they exposed to something? And so those are factors, to take into account. And those, the environmental antisocial personality issues are usually attributed to the environment. Like they learn to be sociopaths, they learn those behaviors, and it then becomes a part of their personality. Psychopathy is more towards birth. So someone who's truly psychopathic will be psychopathic no matter which environment you put them in. You can give them a loving family, you can surround them with love, you can give them a great balanced life, and they're still going to veer towards psychopathy. Um, these are people who, derive pleasure from torturing living things and committing, violence on people, exerting control, lying, manipulating, feeling like like life is Burger King, your way right away, your way right away. And um these psychopaths, they don't really see people as people. They see people as a tool to get what they want, right? That's all you are. It's just a tool. They don't have the ability to love or care or have compassion for human beings. They don't exist in the world like in communion with humanity. They just see people as a means to get what they want. And if they can't get what they want from the people, then those people are in the way and those people need to go. You know, and it's just matter of fact like that. And I think that normal people have a hard time understanding this mindset because it's so foreign, right? It's just like it's hard to wrap your mind around. I guess I've delved into this topic so deeply that I truly understand understand a lot of the mindset that these people have. And it's like for them, they could look at you like just a roadblock, right? That's all they see. They don't see a person in front of them. It's a roadblock that they need to get rid of. Um, and if they derive pleasure, because psychopathy, all psychopaths are not serial killers. All psychopaths are not violent. But some are. And so the ones who are the ones who derive pleasure from others' pain. And so their need to get pleasure will supersede your right to live on this earth, right? They don't take that into account, like your life matters and you should be here. They don't care about that. If they derive pleasure from hurting people, then they're going to do it for their own pleasure. And it's kind of twisted to even think that someone can be like that, but these people are like that. These entities are like that. I want to give you a quick story time. I don't think I've shared this story with y'all before, but I used to have a friend. I no longer hang out with her for various reasons that I won't get into today. Sorry, y'all, I'm having me a glass of wine. It's been a long day. Um, it's a friend I used to have, and she became pregnant with twins. From the very beginning in the womb, one of the twins was bigger than the other twin. In other words, this twin was like hogging up all the nutrients from the other twin. Not only was this twin hogging up the nutrients from the other twin, this twin was blocking the way to get out. So this child was transverse. I don't know if you guys are familiar with obstetric terms, but a transverse baby in utero is a baby that's laying sideways, right? To get the babies out, the most optimal way to have a baby be born is head down. Okay, so baby B was head down, the smaller baby. The baby A was bigger and transverse and would not turn. They even tried to turn him manually. He would not turn, just wouldn't. So mom ended up needing a C-section. Mom got a C-section. From the beginning, I knew this child was marked. That's the only word that I could think of when the child was born. This baby would just stare. And it's a stare that I've never seen a newborn. I deal with a lot of newborns. It's a stare that I've never seen a newborn have in my life. And to this day, it's very haunting. He would just stare, like barely blinking. Um, it was crazy. And just to back it up, so he was born, he was a normal sized baby. I think he was close to 7 pounds, but baby B was like 4.5 pounds. That's how little nutrients baby B was getting. Um, so baby B ended up needing to go to NICU and having a lot of issues, and it's just been, baby B had a lot of challenges to overcome. Um, Now fast forward, we stopped hanging out, then we started hanging out again. By the time we started hanging out again, I think I was pregnant. Yeah, I was pregnant by the time we started hanging out. I think I was about 7 months pregnant, and I went to visit her and her kids. She had left her narcissist, and I guess that her ex narc psychopath is very relevant to the story, right? She had left him, was living on her own with the children. That baby A, we'll just continue to call him baby A or boy A. They were like, the twins were like 2 years old, and boy A was ramming his head into my stomach. And he was just so obsessed with like throwing toys at my stomach, ramming his body into my stomach, like hurling himself towards my stomach. It was like I literally had to cut the visit short. I was like, this child really is evil. Like, he really is evil. Um, Time progresses. I have my daughter, we stopped hanging out and then we started hanging out again. By the time we started hanging out again, my daughter was a toddler and her kids were like preschool age. And boy A would just continue to like be very mean to my daughter to the point where I didn't even trust her to be alone with them, because I was afraid that he was going to do something to my daughter. And he was about like 4 or 5, little. But I was afraid. I knew something was wrong with this kid, and he just seemed to derive a lot of joy from hurting others. And I don't know that you can love that out of a child. I really don't. It's almost like it's a defect. Can you imagine your child being born without an arm? Or can you imagine your child being born, um, without a leg? You know, there's no amount of love that you can give that child that's going to make that limb grow in. And I think that a lack of empathy is a defect. It can be a defect that a child can be born with, and it's just not there. It doesn't matter how much you hope and pray and wish that it was there. If it ain't there, it ain't there. It's just not. It's just not. And it's a deficit. It's a defect that these children, some people have, right? And I think I'm pretty sure that this child was born without empathy, or the capacity to have empathy for others. Um, so yeah, I mean, he was very mean to his twin brother, and his older brother. He's just always the one kind of like instigating and starting fights and stuff like that. I I mean, I would say the mom was in complete denial about the state of her son. I would say she was in complete denial. And I kind of vaguely mentioned something about, I was like, do you think boy A, takes after his dad? Do you think that maybe um he has some of the he, took on some traits from his dad? And she was just kind of gave me a response like, well, I hope not. I really hope not. I'm going to keep working with them. I'm going to keep working with him and da da da. I'm literally waiting for her to be on the news. I'm literally waiting for her to be on the news. And I would say I said that way before this story ever came out. I was like, one day this lady's going to be on the news, because we're not friends anymore. It's not like, I hate her or anything. It just was like, it's just too much. We're not friends anymore. Um, I just sent her love and light, but we're not friends. Um, I'm just like, yeah, she's going to be on the news, or her son is going to be on the news, but somebody's going to be on the news. He's going to hurt his mother. I believe he would totally have the capacity to hurt her. And, I feel for parents, especially mothers. I feel for mothers who are in a position like that. Um, because you do have unconditional love for your children, but it's unfortunate when your children do not have the capacity to reciprocate any love to you. And the love is just going one way. And the denial and the sort of like um putting the blinders on. You just don't want to see it, you don't want to hear it, you don't want to admit it. And sometimes, you'll see that with parents that have whose children have other issues. I was with a mom over the summer. My daughter was in swimming lessons, and I knew something was going on with the girl, and I was like, I think that girl's on the spectrum, but of course I didn't say anything about it. But I could tell she was on the spectrum. I could tell. And um, you know, through going to the swimming lessons and sitting with the parents, the mom disclosed to me, like, yeah, my daughter was diagnosed with autism. And I don't believe it, and I da 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 da, and that's not true, and I know she's fine, and they're over exaggerating, and da 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 da. And so the thing about it is, your child could be getting therapy and help and assistance to help her thrive in life, but because you don't want to accept this diagnosis, you're denying your child of these services. She's mildly on the spectrum. She could have a wonderful full life, but she's definitely going to need extra help to get where she needs to go. And mom is in the way because mom doesn't want to see that. Mom doesn't want to admit that. And it's the same with these little demon children. It's like the moms just don't want to see it. They don't want to accept it. And it's so dangerous. It's dangerous to the mother herself. It's dangerous to all the children around that child. It's dangerous for all the people in that immediate family. The warning signs that should have sent off um major red flags is this child torturing an animal. Okay, torturing an animal. I think the child was like 4 or 5 years old. That should have sent major, major red flags. Like, Mayday, Mayday, we have an emergency here. That is a predictor of offing someone in the future. That is a major predictor. Doing that type of behavior so young is indicative of having been born with some type of defect. Because if you're 4 years old, you really don't have time to be socialized. Really, you really don't have time to be socialized. You're really not that affected by your environment. And it seems that mom was doing a good enough job. It seems that mom was a good enough mother and was trying to do the best that she could. It's not like she had them in the projects or living on the street or in a shelter. She had them in a nice home, and she seemed like a good enough mother. So for this child to demonstrate those types of behaviors at 4 or 5 years old shows you that this is a genetic uh you know disposition. This is a part of their psyche. This is a part of their personality. This is a part of who they are. They are demon child that derives pleasure from hurting living things. I think that's a tough pill that Black mothers are going to have to swallow. And for your own self. Like, love yourself. I mean, I know your children, da 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 da, but gosh, love yourself. Protect yourself. You have to, and you owe it to the other children. You owe it to the other children to keep them safe. You can't sacrifice 5 children for one. You see, you can't. You can't put everybody's life in jeopardy because you don't want to give up on your son. It's like you're going to cry anyway. You might as well cry for having lost your son than cry for having lost all the siblings and having to put them 6 feet under because you allowed the demon to roam around in the family. Um, Other troubling behavior that the child had was filling a balloon with flammable liquid and throwing it at something, trying to set someone on fire. Arson at a young age is a predictor of offing someone. So there's 2 major behaviors that this child exhibited: torturing animals and arson, that are predictors of future violence, sociopathy, antisocial personality disorder, psychopathy, homicidal behavior, homicidal ideology, etc. Um, it's possible that the only therapeutic environment for this child would have been some type of facility that could have handled him, monitored him, and kept him away from the other patients. There's no pill you can take for psychopathy. It's not like depression. Depression can be treated, okay? Anxiety can be treated. Bipolar can be treated. Schizophrenia can be treated. OCD can be treated. There's all kinds of mental disorders that have treatments. Psychopathy is not one of them. There's no treatment. There's no even talk therapy modality to treat it. It's just because it's who you are. It's part of your person. It's part of their personality. It's almost like, if you're a funny person, you joke around or whatever, you're a softie or whatever, something unique about your personality. No one's going to get that out of you. Like, you're just going to be like that forever. Those are your personality traits, and psychopathy is their personality trait, and there's no treatment for that. There's literally no treatment for that. I feel so sad for this mother. I really do. She's gone on to glory and taken out by her own son that she tried to love. She tried to love. Now, that original story time that I shared with you, the dad is psychopathic. The dad is a total malignant narcissist. I don't know him well enough. Like, I don't know. He's very secretive about his childhood, so I don't really know the ins and outs of it. I know that his mother told him that she wished she never had him at a very young age. And I think that that can be very impactful for a child, to hear that you're unwanted like that. So I don't know if that was a part of it or if he was already messed up before that. I don't know. I don't have enough information to know. All I know is the adult version was a malignant narcissist. That much I do know. So when boy A of the twin group ended up, he just reminded me so much of his dad. He really, really did. He reminded me a lot of his dad. And I feel sorry for boy B because I can totally see the dad manipulating the situation to try to bring boy B into the fold of whatever, whatever shenanigans that they have up their sleeve, whatever it is. Um, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him and the other child to adopt those behaviors. That the dad would be imposing that on the sons. She has 3 boys with a malignant narcissist. I think as, we become educated, so there's this generation above, our Gen Z girls, our Gen Z young women should rather. Hopefully we've made enough mistakes for you to see. And hopefully we can be as transparent about the mistakes that we have made so that you don't have to go out and do them and you can listen and you can learn so that you can do things better. You need to be better than us. We expect that of you. We expect you to be better. Um, in a perfect world or having the information that we knew, because both of us learned about narcissism from him. He taught us. He threw us into learning about narcissism because his behavior was so odd and inexplicable. Because, trying to deal with him like a normal human being was quite impossible. And you'll learn that with narcissists. You can't deal with them like regular humans. They don't have all the qualities of a regular human. So even usually if I were to give anybody advice about any type of relationship, I want to know, what are we working with? Or am I dealing with a regular human or am I dealing with a narc? Because that's going to be a different set of advice. Because if it's a normal person, I would say, oh, express your needs, talk to them, be vulnerable, um, listen to your friend or your spouse or your mate or your cousin or whoever it is if you're dealing with a regular human, and work it out and create your boundaries and that regular stuff. But if it's a narc, it's totally different advice. It's very different, right? Because none of that uh talking it out, working it out, it don't work with them, okay? Because that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to dominate and control, manipulate. And so you have different goals, right? So your goal might be to create peace in the relationship. Your goal may be to restore balance or to bring in joy within the relationship, or to work towards a common goal in the relationship. And their goal is to manipulate. Their goal is to get you in a position of confusion and servitude to them, but because they only feel they have to feel in control. And so when you're confused or scared or something like that, something in the negative, emotional states, then they will feel in control. And that's what they're trying to do. So there's no reason to sit up here and try to have a rational conversation with them because you have two totally different goals. Okay, so dad was a total malignant narcissist, and I do believe genetically something's going on, and he passed that to the boy A, because and you know what? He's a spitting image of his father. Spitting image of his father. Like a carbon copy. He looks just like his dad. He acts just like his dad. From birth, this child was marked. And at that time, I was a little bit more into like African spirituality. I was like, this baby needs an exorcism. This baby needs a spiritual bath. Like I was serious. I mean, serious. I was serious at newborn. I was like, we need to go find a priestess. We need to do something because your baby is marked, you know? She is atheist. So I knew that she wasn't going to be down for any of that. So I really didn't bring it up because she doesn't believe in any type of spiritual anything. So I didn't bring it up, but that was my first thought. That was my first feeling. This baby needs an exorcism or something. This baby needs a ritual. We need to dunk this baby in some water and put some holy water on this child and some sage. And this child is marked. And so, we are in a position to where we have to really look at this. Now, I think the best course of action is prevention. Um, that's the best course of action. So when I'm going through different things on this channel, excuse me, hold on a second. I hope y'all didn't hear. I probably should have muted the phone. Anyway, when I'm going through different things on the channel about vetting men, right? It's not arbitrary. There's a reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. There's a reason why I'm saying to take your time. There's a reason why I'm saying make him work for you. See what he's made of. See what is his foundation? Who is his family? Is there any mental illness in his family? How does he react under pressure? How does he act when he doesn't get what he wants? How does he cope with disappointment? How does he cope with failure? All of those things. There's a reason why I say what I say. It's because you need this information to decide if you want to carry on his bloodline. And we as women are the deciders of that. Okay? We are the deciders of that. And I really think that we need to walk in that power, and we need to really know that we are in control and that we have the power to bring forth who needs to be brought forth and hopefully let die out who needs to die out. Get me? Um, yes, I wish I had this information earlier. I really do. I really do. But you have it now. For those of you who are young, you don't have any children, you're still trying to figure it out. You have the information now. You have a blueprint. You have guidance. You have, a sisterhood. I'm in my auntie mode right now. You got auntie Afrocentric woman, to lean on or whatever, get information from as you decide these very important things. Because those narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic characteristics can absolutely be passed to your children. They absolutely can be genetic or spiritual or whatever, and be passed to your children. And then now you got a problem. Now you got a problem. With this child, the 10-year-old who offed his mother, I think there's probably also some mental, like, I think there's like some developmental delays in the child. I don't know, what his birth history was. Like, was he born early? Did he have a traumatic birth experience? Was mom an older? I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the answers to those questions, but it seems like he had some developmental delay, which is probably contributing a contributing factor to this. But the majority of it is the psychopathic character traits. Okay. There's plenty of children who have developmental differences, different ability levels, and they're sweet, loving children, sweet, loving children who, just want to enjoy life and just want to be kids. Um, yeah. Now, the thing about these psychopaths, or when you have that behavior, it's like indulging them. The more you indulge them and coddle them, the worse they become until you literally create a monster. Women don't understand that they can literally create a monster. You could literally create a monster by constantly coddling and indulging children like this, especially boys. All boys are hard. Listen, I'm telling you. Boys are hard because, as mothers, we have to socialize them. We have to force them. We have to force them to do what we need them to do to be in community. We have to force them to take out the trash, to mow the lawn, to do for their sisters, to share their resources, to be self-sufficient. Girls kind of just fall into being a girl. I don't know, but girls just like roll into it. I can't explain it, but that's just how it is. Maybe they're mimicking mom. I don't know. But girls kind of fall into it. We, of course, have things that we have to teach our girls and guide our girls, but girls just kind of fall into girlhood and then kind of develop into women. Boys, you kind of have to like give them the right ingredients to become a good man, or else, I mean, it's like if you make one wrong move, or you make one wrong move, they can totally go off the rails and just be menace to society. Literally, because there's other races of boys who've done this exact same thing, and some of them have off the entire family, okay, over something. Now, you can look it up. I watch incredibly too much true crime, but you can look up this case. There was a boy, a young man who offed his parents because he had a a girl that he was chatting with on some like chat line or something like that. He was stealing money from his family to be able to afford to talk to this woman via this chat app. And so they found out what happened, and I think they were going to confront him, or they were going to turn him into the police, right? Because he had been stealing money. He promised he wouldn't steal any more money. And so the parents found out and they were going to turn him into the police. And so he offed them. Now, that boy had a brother, and the brother was in the medical field, and the brother was at the hospital at the time. I think he was getting off work and trying to rush to his parents' house. But by the time he got there, the other brother had already off both the parents. So I can say this. Pay attention to the patterns. Pay attention to the patterns, because if your son knows that something is wrong and knows how it can hurt others, hurt you as the mother, okay? And they do it anyway, consistently over and over, because there's a big difference between your everyday talking back, or like not doing your chores, or, not doing homework, or watching too much TV. That's regular kid stuff. But I'm talking about the devious behavior. I'm talking about going into your purse and stealing your money. I'm talking about going into your account and ordering stuff for themselves, even though you've told them not to do that multiple times. Hiding things in the house. Hurting others, being violent consistently. Those are the types of behaviors I'm referring to. When you see a pattern of that, you have to have a real tough conversation with yourself. And you really just have to sit down and come to a level of acceptance of what is, not what you want it to be. Because you want your son to be, a Prince Charming. But what if he's a Prince Terror? He's terrorizing your home. What do you think he's going to do to others? And who else is in your home that you're responsible for taking care of? You got to think about them too. You got to think about them too. And it's tough. I mean, I I'm not in that situation. I was going to make another video not long ago that mothers of sons have the hardest time leveling up. They have the hardest time having standards. They have the hardest time breaking away, being honest about what's going on with the culture. They have the hardest time, the mothers of the sons. That's what I've noticed. They're the least likely to be honest about what's going on. Because it's, I think it's just a part of them that just doesn't want to accept what is about Black male culture because their son is a part of it. And if they were to admit it, then they would have to admit that their son is vulnerable to succumbing to Black male culture. And they don't want to do that. Y'all, I have been fine all day and I decided to go live, and now all of a sudden I'm having like all these little coughing attacks. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I think that they're the least likely to accept it because they just don't want to accept they don't want to accept that their son is a part of it. I was thinking to myself the other day, is my brother the same Black man? Is he the same Black man? And my conclusion was, in some areas, yes, he is the same Black man. In some areas, he is, stepped up to the plate of manhood. In some areas, many areas he has. In many areas he has. Is my brother a colorist? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Yeah, low key, yeah. Low key, yes. He has in some other stuff too, some other issues. In many ways, he's the same. He's the same Black man. So, you know, when it comes to the men closest to you, it's hard to be critical of them or honest about what's going on. Because you want to give your own family member a pass. You want to give them a pass and you want to look at other people, right? You want to look at other men and other families, and you don't want to be critical of what is closest to you. I think every mother wants their children to, you just have so many hopes and dreams for your children. You really do. And you feel a deep sense of duty in taking care of them. And it's like, what the hell are you going to do with a child that's psychopathic like this? Drop them off at the fire station? Like, what is the, what do you practically do with this? What do you practically do? Especially if you try to get the child, enrolled into some services or a facility or something, and they don't think it's severe enough, and they don't think it's severe enough until they've offed someone. Well, now he's going to get treatment. This 10-year-old's going to get treatment in the juvenile facility. He sure will. He'll get treatment now. He'll get diagnosed now. They'll diagnose him. Most narcissists do not get diagnosed unless they go to prison. That's when most diagnoses come. Why? Why, you ask? Because narcissists don't think that anything is wrong with them. That's why. You, the normal human, you feel the pain of the narcissist's actions. You feel the pain of the narcissist's words and behaviors and, insults and gaslighting and all that. You feel it all. They don't. They don't think anything's wrong with them. So they're the least likely to seek any treatment. Y'all know what I ran across the other day? I ran across a flyer that was like free mental health for Black men. This was a few years ago. I don't know if y'all remember that big campaign, and Taraji, black male worshiper, she was like I can't say this word, championing it. And she had invested a lot of money in that as well, into that foundation. And the foundation was funding free mental health for Black men. Do y'all remember that a few years ago? And do you know how underutilized that was? It was very underutilized. I don't think that they even scratched the surface of the fund. I don't even think they exhausted the funding that was available for the therapy. Why don't Black men want to get mental health treatment or assistance? Because they don't think anything's wrong, because they're very narcissistic. Listen, they think you're the problem, okay? And they think that they would prefer to have a scapegoat. They would prefer to blame shift and look outwards and stay. Listen, one of the traits of narcissism is a lack of insight. A lack of insight, which means that you cannot look within yourself and have insight into a situation. So you can't look into a situation and see where you have a part in the problem, or see where you went wrong, see what, what you could have done better about it. They don't have that ability. They don't have insight. They don't have insight into themselves. They don't have metacognition, really. And they think that their brain works efficiently. And you know what they think? They think that empathy is a weakness, right? And so they kind of pity you. They pity regular humans for having empathy, because they kind of equate it to being stupid. Like, I'm smart because I don't have those feelings, and my brain operates better because I don't consider people's feelings. I just do what I want to do. It's very efficient. I don't have any roadblocks. But you regular humans take into account people's feelings. You think about how things are going to affect people before you act, right? They don't do that. And they think that you doing that is actually a weakness. They think that you're defective for thinking that way. And they feel like they are the more advanced, they are the better human, because they don't have empathy in the way of making decisions. They don't have, how is this going to affect this person or that person or the earth? If I dump this in the river, who's going to drink from this water? They don't think like that. They're like, well, the most efficient thing for me to do, and I can save the most money, is to put this waste into the river, and that's just what I'm going to do. They don't care about the fish or whatever, the marine life or whatever. They don't care. And so it's very similar to that thought process in real life. And for those of you who would go the long way, so a regular human would be like, well, I'll spend more money to take this waste to the proper area, and it's going to take me an additional amount of time and more manpower, but I'm going to save the people. They would look at you as being stupid and inefficient, you see, because you care about the animals and the people. So I'm trying to give you an insight of like how their minds work, because this will help you in dealing with them, especially when they're your own family. Um, I've had a hard time with certain Black women. I've had a hard time with certain Black women explaining to them that cluster B personality traits are uncurable. There's a handful of Black women that have been in my life who don't accept that and feel like there's something that they could do, or maybe go to family therapy, or maybe, pray, or make I don't know, whatever. They have some type of plan that they think that's going to work, that's going to break through to the narcissist and heal them. When it's incurable, it's a personality trait. I can say this. I mean, if you you have to kind of mitigate your own risk, right? So if there's somebody that you know that entertains and keeps around malignant narcissists around them, you may just have to remove yourself from the situation if they're not willing to do it. You just may have to remove yourself from the situation altogether to just mitigate your own risk, lower your own risk of hurt. I mean, because there was one, oh yeah, remember that girl? There was a girl who, she wasn't even the girlfriend. So she was friends with a girl who had this abusive narcissist boyfriend who was beating on her, and the friend tried to help her. She went to her house, and the boyfriend offed the friend. Do y'all remember that story? Yeah, the boyfriend offed the friend. So the friend really put herself in a very vulnerable situation by trying to help someone who didn't want to help themselves. You know, someone who keeps going back into toxic situations. At some point in time, you have to turn your empathy off. Or this is the thing about empathy. This is the thing. You can have empathy, but not act on it. Right? You can feel all your feelings. You can feel sorry for your friend. You can cry in your pillow. You can write in your journal, whatever you need to do to feel your feelings. Feel your feelings. But feeling your feelings doesn't mean that you need to let your friend come to your house. Feeling your feelings doesn't mean that you have to go and roll up and pull up because she's arguing with her boyfriend and you pull up outside. No. If she's not willing to call the police, then she shouldn't be willing to call you. You understand? Why would she put you in harm's way? You have to protect yourself first. Why would you be calling me? Why aren't you calling a women's shelter? Why aren't you calling a domestic violence line? I'm not a shelter. I'm not a domestic violence expert, right? I'm just a regular schmegular girl. So if they're not willing to go to bat for themselves, why should you put yourself in harm's way? You have to be very prudent in uh, picking your friends. And I want to do another video about healthy relationships and friendships. Because, you know, with the whole Shanquella situation, there's a lot of people creating content about, you know, stay away from ratchet people and all of this, but you know, no one's really talking about how to pick friends, how to choose who you spend your time with. I don't have any people in my life like Shanquilla's friends. I don't have people in my life like that. So, you know, all of that's very foreign to me. I don't have people in my life like that. I'm very I only go the places that I want to go. And I only spend time with people that I want to spend time with. It's a luxury. It really, truly is. I do what I want all day, literally. I work when I want. I take the clients that I want to work with. I don't take clients I don't want to work with. And I mean, it's really great. I love it. But anywho, back to that. Yeah. So we have to take ownership and accountability and responsibility for our own safety. So even if you know a mother who has a son like that, that doesn't want to recognize that the son has major problems and is a danger to those around him, then you have to remove yourself from the situation. And for the mothers, Lord, I don't know what to tell you, girl. Um, write it down. Write it down. Write down everything that your son is doing so that you can see it on paper. It's the best thing I can tell you because You need to be able to try to be objective about the behavior. You have to try to be objective about the behavior. You have to try to be objective about the pattern, about the trajectory of where this child, boy, young man is going. You have to take stock of what you have done. I've took him to therapy. I tried this. I put him in Little League. I got him a da-da-da-da. I put him in Boys and Girls Club. I got him a big brother through Big Brothers and Sisters. I took him to church. I tried Sunday school. I prayed over him. I got him baptized. I went to the school. I'm a part of the PT. I've done all these things and my child is still stealing money out of my purse. Okay, sis, we really have to just be objective about this. You need to know that you've done all you can do. You've done all the things, all the things, all the things. You've done them all. But there's a personality trait in your son that is demonic. You just got to be honest about that. Swallow that hard pill, sis. I'm sorry. I'll hold your hand. I'll hold space with you, but you're going to have to swallow that pill. Despite everything that you've done, your son is still demonic. You got to work on coming to that. Acceptance is the first step. Then we can get to the action. But we aren't even at the acceptance point of the situation. We're not even there yet. You don't even want to accept the fact that your son is demonic. There's nothing you can do to help him. There are things you can do to help yourself, but there's nothing that you can do to help him. I'm sorry, y'all haven't been looking at the comments. Hey, Mocha Mommy. Hey, Josie. The Little Girl, the Ring movie. What would you even do in that situation can help a child like that? Malcolm X grandson was that way. Unalive Betty Shabazz. Wow. My sister is a psychiatrist. There is very little support for the mentally ill. Even doctors have little power when there is no space in a patient hospitals and another doctor can contradict you. I can't imagine giving birth to a person who will ultimately end your life. The irony is highly disturbing. I hope as more information about mental health circulates, there becomes more facilities and services. Unfortunately, some people have to be institutionalized. Yes, absolutely. There are a lack of services for sure. There is, even for people who want treatment, even with other situations like, substance abuse. There's just a lack of, even if you want to get help, there's a lack of where you can go to get the type of help that you need. But when it comes to psychopathy and antisocial behavior, it's really about protecting the public, is what it's really about. It's about protecting the public. My prayer is that society takes domestic violence more seriously, because if society was more stringent on domestic violence, and of course we know Black women have higher rates of DV, have higher rates of being offed, have higher rates of serious injury, proportionate than other communities. We would be able to save a lot of other people. The guy who drove his car through the Waukesha, I think it's Waukesha, hopefully I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly, parade outside of Minnesota, was abusing his girlfriend and stalking her and harassing her and beating on her, and was a pedophile, preyed on her when she was 15 years old and he was a grown man. But because he got a slap on the wrist for being a pedophile, slap on the wrist. I don't know. He got probation or some shit for, R-ing a 15-year-old child, and impregnating her. He got a slap on the wrist for that. He got slapped on the wrist for all of his other offenses against women and being a domestic violence offender. And because society did not take that serious, because law enforcement or the criminal justice system did not take that serious, ultimately what happened? Well, way more people were affected by this entity roaming the streets because proper action wasn't taken earlier in the situation to protect the greater good of the greater community from that entity. And I think that as Black women, we have to be vocal and we have to articulate that exactly true. This boy that off the people at the Walmart, I would love to know what type of social media he is consuming. And I'm sure he's in the manosphere. I'm sure. I'm sure. Sure he's some type of incel or MGTOW or something. Because they'd be the main ones going off on people. So we as Black women have to make the link. We need more protection. We need to be taken seriously. I was watching the case again about that guy. He was a Black guy. He had offed Black women, but he was a serial killer. He had killed like 4 women. One of the women, I think it was the second or third woman that he tried to attack, she got away. She got away. She was able to get out of the handcuffs. She was able to get the duct tape off of her mouth. And she called the police and they didn't believe her. They didn't take her seriously. They treated her like she was just, some junkie sex worker who had a bad John. Like, oh, well, this is your lifestyle, whatever, it's not my problem. You're the one who want to be in this lifestyle, when that's just not what was going on. And what she was communicating was very serious and should have been taken seriously. They should have investigated right then and there to backtrack what was going on through that social media or whatever app they were talking on, get an ID on him, investigate him, get a subpoena on his DNA, see if it matches any other offenses in the area. If the police had acted on that Black woman talking about what happened, then the other 2 victims would still be here. They would still be here. And they're not going to take it seriously until they are affected. That town outside of Minnesota was lily white. Okay? Lily white. Hopefully they see. You can't ignore the problem and think that it's going to be isolated to, oh, well, only Black women are affected, so it's not my problem. No, it is your problem because it's our problem for sure. But our problem most certainly will be spilling out into your community as well. You're going to be affected too. You're going to lose lives. You're going to have mass this and that. And yeah, absolutely. If you don't take domestic violence more seriously. These people, and also R-ing and pedophilia. Usually those charges are very light. It's almost like a walk in the park to R a child, and you just get a couple of years. To violate their innocence like that, just a couple of years, like the whatever law codification or whatever it is, it's very flawed in that way, because those are like the main predictors of some of that behavior is the pedophilia, it's the domestic violence. Those are your warning signs, of being a violent offender, being someone who does not respect boundaries, doesn't respect limits, doesn't respect rules, doesn't respect people's like personal space. Those are some of the main Those are some of the main ways. So what do y'all think? What do you think can be done? And I'll share the link. Let me see if I can get it. I want to share a link. Okay, here it is. All right. Okay, how can I share it? Why is it not letting me? I want to share the link with y'all. Okay, here we go. You see, I don't go live enough. All right, here it is. All right, there's the link. Anybody's welcome to come up if you have something to say about this situation, if you have ideas about what mothers can do, what Black women in general can do to be safe and to deal with this situation, because it's tough. And I definitely would not downplay how tough the situation is. It's not a walk in the park for sure. It's just not. So I'll hang out a couple of minutes to see if anybody wants to come up. Yeah, I'll see if anybody wants to come up and share their thoughts about this situation. It is a doozy. I'll say this. I mean, me being a mom and, interfacing with a lot of children, whether it be on the playground or, at school, different places, I can honestly say that I have witnessed very young boys with antisocial behavior. Very young. I remember I I know I told y'all a story. I think I might have gone through all the boys I was having problems with. There was one main boy, but I think I shared no, I for sure. I think I did a standalone video about this particular boy. This boy, okay, so at my daughter's school last year, we had a fall festival, a fall carnival or whatever it was, and we had a petting zoo come out. So this guy from like whatever the country brought these small animals, brought a bunch of animals for the kids to pet. And in this pen, I think it was like, I don't know, goats, maybe like small goats or sheep or something. Chickens were there. I don't remember. I'm trying to think of what other animals were there. I don't remember. But the boy that had been harassing my daughter, he was hurting the animals and he was laughing. He was hurting the animals and laughing. And I just knew, I was like, I knew it. That boy, something's wrong with him. Something major is wrong with that boy. He was the only child doing that, hurting the animals. And he thought it was hilarious. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed hurting the animals. He was removed from the pen because there was like kind of like this pen where the animals were inside and the children, a few children at a time could go in and pet the animals. And so he had to be removed for hurting the animals. It's really sad. Okay. So no one has come up, and I think I've said all that I want to say at this time. So I'm going to go. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's very late. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, please do. By the way, we're really close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. if you would like to share this video or the channel with your network, that would be great. Maybe they want to subscribe, and we will cross that 1,000 subscriber threshold very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you. We'll talk soon, okay? Bye.